Picture this. You're in the middle of a heated conversation. The words are at the tip of your tongue, sharp, witty, and oh so satisfying to say. You let them fly. For a moment it feels good, but later that lingering regret creeps in. Did I really need to say that? Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest Roman emperors, would have raised an eyebrow at moments like these. In his Meditations he wrote, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." A single unkind word or impulsive comment. It can do more damage than a stumble ever could. Silence, however, is a weapon you wield without hurting others or yourself. But let's be honest, keeping quiet in the heat of the moment isn't easy. It takes strength to pause when your emotions are running the show. That's why Marcus reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And strength, my friend, is learning when to zip it. This guide is for anyone who's ever blurted out something and wished for a time machine, or for those of us, yes, me included, who love winning arguments but hate the aftermath. It's about mastering the art of knowing when to speak, what to say, and when to let silence do the talking. We're diving into 12 timeless tips inspired by Marcus Aurelius that will not only save you from awkward moments, but also help you level up in self-control, emotional intelligence, and relationships. Before we get into it, here's your first challenge. If you've ever had a moment when you should have stayed silent but didn't, hit that like button. And if you're ready to learn how to embrace the wisdom of silence, go ahead and subscribe, because trust me, these lessons will change the way you think and speak. So, are you ready to master the art of zipping it? Let's get started. Lesson 1. Silence as strength. The art of not reacting instantly. Imagine someone hurling an insult at you in a crowded room. Your pulse quickens, your brain races, and your tongue is ready to fire back. But before you respond, consider this timeless wisdom from Marcus Aurelius. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In that split second, you face a choice. Do you react in anger, matching their energy, or do you pause, breathe, and reclaim control over yourself? Here's the thing. Reacting instantly, especially out of emotion, often leads to regret. It's in those moments of silence where true strength lies, not in biting comebacks, but in the ability to hold back and stay composed. Marcus Aurelius believed that most of what agitates us isn't the situation itself, but our interpretation of it. He taught that silence, far from being passive, is a deliberate act of power. When you stay silent, you're not suppressing your feelings, you're mastering them. By refusing to react impulsively, you prevent others from controlling your emotional state. Think about this. When someone says something hurtful, their goal is often to provoke a reaction. If you respond angrily, you've handed them victory. But if you respond with silence, you're saying, "I see your words, but they don't own me." This doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation. It means you're deciding how and when to respond, on your terms. As Marcus said, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Remember, silence isn't about retreating. It's about standing firm, letting emotions settle, and then deciding the best course of action. So, the next time someone tries to shake you, try this. Zip it. Not out of fear, but out of confidence in your ability to master yourself. Because true strength isn't about what you say, it's about knowing when to stay quiet. Lesson 2. The wisdom of listening. Silence as a gateway to understanding. Have you ever noticed how rare it is to feel truly heard? In most conversations, people are busy formulating their next thought rather than absorbing what's being said. Marcus Aurelius, a master of introspection and observation, offered us a powerful insight. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. This advice applies perfectly to the art of listening. Silence in a conversation isn't a gap to be filled, it's a tool for understanding. When we choose to remain quiet and genuinely listen, we create space for others to express themselves, and in doing so, we uncover layers of truth we'd otherwise miss. Listening isn't passive, it's an active skill. When we're silent and focused, we pick up on subtle details, the emotions behind someone's words, their unspoken concerns, or even the contradictions in their thoughts. Think about the times you've felt misunderstood. How different would the conversation have been if the other person had truly listened? Marcus Aurelius would remind us that listening without judgment is key. It's tempting to hear something we disagree with and immediately start mentally crafting a rebuttal. But when we do that, we're not really listening. We're waiting to speak. By staying silent and allowing ourselves to fully take in another person's words, we create an opportunity to understand their perspective. In practical terms, the next time you're in a conversation, try this. Pause before you respond. When the other person finishes speaking, take a moment before you reply. Let their words sink in. Marcus Aurelius understood that listening is about more than hearing words. It's about valuing others enough to give them your attention without distraction or judgment. Silence in these moments isn't empty, it's full of empathy and respect. By practicing this kind of listening, we don't just hear better, we connect better, we understand better, and we grow better. So the next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, what might I learn if I simply listen instead? Lesson 3. Choosing words wisely. The power of saying less words are like arrows. Once they leave your bow, you can't take them back. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote, "Do not be perturbed, for all things are according to nature, and in a little time you will be nobody and nowhere." What does this mean for our communication? It's a reminder to not let fleeting emotions or trivial matters push us into saying things we'll regret. We live in a world where speaking out is often seen as a sign of confidence, and silence is sometimes mistaken for weakness. But saying less, and saying it thoughtfully, is a sign of strength. When you choose your words carefully, you demonstrate control over your emotions, clarity in your thoughts, and respect for the impact your words carry. The Stoics believed that restraint in speech reflected mastery over oneself. Consider this: how many arguments escalate because someone said too much? An unnecessary insult, a sarcastic jab, or an exaggerated statement can turn a small disagreement into a full-blown conflict. But when you pause and speak only what is necessary, you leave less room for misunderstanding and resentment. Practically, speaking less doesn't mean staying silent all the time. It means being deliberate about what we choose to say. Here's how you can practice it. Pause before you speak. A moment of silence before responding gives you time to assess whether your words are necessary or productive. Prioritize clarity. Instead of rambling, aim to communicate your message simply and directly. Ask yourself, will this add value? Before speaking, consider if your words will help the situation or just add noise. Marcus Aurelius believed in the power of restraint because it leads to clarity and wisdom. Speaking less doesn't mean you're holding back your thoughts. It means you're refining them, ensuring they serve a purpose. Remember, words can either build bridges or burn them. The choice is always ours, so let's choose wisely. Lesson 4. Silence as a shield, protecting your peace. There's a profound strength in not letting the world's noise invade your inner calm. Marcus Aurelius, a man tasked with leading an empire, understood this better than most. In his meditations he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple truth holds the key to maintaining peace in a chaotic world. Silence can act as your shield, keeping external chaos from disrupting your inner tranquility. Life throws countless distractions, provocations, and opinions our way. From the unsolicited advice of strangers to heated debates on social media, we're constantly tempted to react. But every time we engage in unnecessary conflict, we give away a piece of our mental energy. Marcus would remind us that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every comment deserves a response. Silence, in this sense, becomes an act of self-preservation. Think of silence as a filter. When someone criticizes or provokes you, silence gives you the space to evaluate their words. Are they constructive, or are they simply noise? If they're constructive, you can choose to respond thoughtfully. Practically speaking, using silence as a shield isn't about ignoring everyone or avoiding difficult conversations. It's about being discerning. Here's how you can practice this. Marcus Aurelius would encourage us to remember that external chaos doesn't have to disrupt our internal stability. He might say, let others talk, criticize or provoke. Your mind is your own. Silence is not retreat. It's a declaration that your peace is too valuable to be disturbed by trivial matters. The world will always try to pull you into its noise, but your ability to remain silent, centered, and discerning is your superpower. Protect your peace, not by avoiding the world, but by mastering your response to it. And often the best response is no response at all. Lesson 5. Silence as self-mastery. Restraining the ego. Your ego often whispers, speak up, prove them wrong, make them see your worth. It craves recognition, control, and validation. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. While this quote refers to material desires, it also applies to the hunger of the ego. Restraining the ego through silence is one of the most challenging yet rewarding forms of self-mastery. Ego thrives on noise, on showing off, on one-upping, on winning every argument. It tricks you into believing that your value lies in being heard, acknowledged, or even praised. But Marcus would argue the opposite. True strength comes from within. By practicing silence, you teach your ego that your worth doesn't depend on external validation or dominating conversations. Think of how often ego-driven responses escalate conflicts. Someone challenges your opinion, and your ego urges you to fire back to defend your intelligence or credibility. Yet, as the Stoics believed, the only opinion that truly matters is your own judgment of yourself. If you remain silent in the face of provocation, you not only maintain your dignity, but also disarm the situation. Silence sends a powerful message. I am secure enough in myself that I don't need to engage in every battle. Silence as self-mastery doesn't mean suppressing your thoughts or never speaking your mind. It means speaking intentionally when it serves a purpose and adds value. Restraining the ego through silence creates space for humility, reflection, and growth. It allows you to ask, am I responding to benefit the situation or just to satisfy my pride? Here's how to practice silence as a tool for ego restraint. So the next time your ego demands attention, choose silence instead. It's the ultimate act of power and self-control. Lesson 6. Silence as a space for reflection. Hear yourself think. Amid the noise of life, have you ever felt like you couldn't even hear your own thoughts? Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often spoke of the importance of retreating within oneself, writing, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This isn't just about finding peace, it's about carving out silence to reflect, recharge, and realign with what truly matters. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected world, silence is increasingly rare. Notifications buzz, conversations flow, and distractions compete for our attention. But when we're always reacting to the world outside, we lose touch with the world inside. Silence creates the space we need to listen to ourselves, to sort through our thoughts, evaluate our choices, and understand our emotions. Without it, we risk drifting through life without direction, pulled by external forces rather than guided by our own principles. Reflection isn't just about thinking, it's about thinking deeply. Silence allows us to ask hard questions. Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I reacting to situations or responding to them? What do I truly want? In moments of silence, we can process our experiences and gain clarity, transforming confusion into understanding. Marcus Aurelius believed that this kind of introspection was essential for living a virtuous life. He often reminded himself, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." Silence also helps us recognize patterns in our behavior, both good and bad. Perhaps you've noticed that when you're always surrounded by noise, you make impulsive decisions or say things you later regret. To incorporate silence as a space for reflection, try these practices. So, create space for silence, not as an escape, but as an opportunity to reconnect with your values and align your actions with your intentions. In that stillness, you'll find your truest guide, yourself. Lesson 7. Silence as a tool for problem solving. Clarity through stillness. When faced with a problem, our first instinct is often to act, to talk it out, brainstorm solutions, or seek advice. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. What if, instead of rushing to solve a problem, we allowed ourselves a moment of silence to step back, reflect, and see the situation clearly? Silence is a tool for problem solving because it creates space for clarity, letting us cut through the noise of emotions and external pressures. The Stoics understood that the human mind is like a calm lake. When disturbed by impulsive reactions or frantic thoughts, it becomes murky, making it hard to see the solution lying beneath the surface. Silence acts as a settling agent, allowing the waters of the mind to clear so we can think more effectively. It is in stillness, not in hurried action or overthinking, that answers often reveal themselves. Think about how often we approach problems with urgency, driven by the fear of uncertainty. We vent to others, cluttering our minds with additional voices and opinions, or we try to fix things immediately, without fully understanding the root cause. Marcus would urge us to resist this temptation. Instead, he might advise, be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Silence in the face of challenges allows us to anchor ourselves, assess the situation objectively, and find solutions that are thoughtful rather than reactive. So, the next time you face a problem, don't rush to solve it. Sit in silence, let the storm settle, and trust that the solution will rise from the stillness. Often the best answers come not from noise, but from quiet reflection. Lesson 9. Silence as a form of respect, honoring others with your attention. Have you ever been in a conversation where it felt like the other person wasn't really listening, just waiting for their turn to talk? It's frustrating, isn't it? Marcus Aurelius, in his quiet reflections, understood the power of giving others your full attention. He wrote, "It is not what you say that defines you, but how you act." Silence, in the context of communication, is an action, a choice to respect and honor someone by listening truly and fully without the need to dominate or interrupt. Silence isn't about being passive or disengaged. On the contrary, it's about being deeply present. When you hold your tongue in a conversation, You're signaling to the other person that their words matter and that you value their perspective. It creates a space where trust can grow, where people feel safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or interruption. Marcus would remind us that every interaction is an opportunity to practice virtue, and what greater virtue is there than making someone feel heard? Respecting others through silence doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say. It means giving them the dignity of your attention, even if you disagree. Too often, conversations become battlegrounds for opinions where the loudest voice wins. But what if, instead of preparing your next argument, you simply listened? As the Stoics believed, true wisdom comes not from speaking, but from understanding, and understanding begins with silence. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, try honoring the other person with silence. Not the silence of disengagement, but the silence of respect and attention. In that quiet space, you'll discover not only what others truly mean, but also the profound impact of simply listening. Lesson 10. Silence as a strategy, knowing when to speak and when to wait. Timing is everything. The right word spoken at the wrong time can fall flat, be misunderstood, or even backfire. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply, writing, "No more roundabout discussions or speculations. Stay focused on the task and do what must be done." What does this mean for our communication? It's a reminder that silence isn't just about holding back. It's about waiting for the right moment to speak, ensuring your words are purposeful, precise, and impactful. Silence as a strategy isn't about passivity or avoiding confrontation. It's about mastering the art of timing. When emotions are running high, we often feel the urge to say something immediately, either to defend ourselves, explain our point, or calm the situation. Think about this. How often do we rush into conversations only to regret what we said? Whether it's an impulsive apology, a defensive retort, or a thoughtless comment, our haste can cloud our judgment. By choosing silence instead of immediacy, we give ourselves the gift of reflection. Silence creates a buffer, a space where we can evaluate the situation, process our emotions, and craft a response that aligns with our values and goals. Marcus Aurelius believed in the power of thoughtful action. As he wrote, "Let your words be few and well considered." This advice underscores the importance of timing. Knowing when to speak and when to wait is a sign of wisdom and self-control. Silence as a strategy teaches us that we don't need to fill every void with words. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can say is nothing at all, at least not yet. By waiting, observing, and speaking with intention, we ensure that our words carry weight and that our actions reflect clarity and purpose. Lesson 11. Silence as strength in conflict, de-escalating with composure. Conflict often feels like a battle of words, where the loudest or quickest response determines the winner. But Marcus Aurelius, in his measured wisdom, offers a different approach. The best way to avenge yourself is not to be like your enemy. This isn't a call to surrender, it's a call to strength, to rise above the chaos of confrontation by mastering the art of silence. In conflict, silence can be the shield that protects your composure and the sword that disarms hostility. When tempers flare, our instincts drive us to defend ourselves, argue, or even attack. We want to prove we're right, assert our position, and make our voice heard. But words spoken in anger are rarely constructive. Instead of resolving the issue, they fuel the fire, turning a small disagreement into an irreparable rift. Silence, on the other hand, allows you to step out of the cycle of reaction. Practicing silence in conflict isn't about avoidance or suppressing your voice. It's about creating space for clarity and perspective. When you remain silent, you're better able to understand the root of the issue, both in yourself and the other person. Often, Conflicts aren't truly about the words being exchanged, but the emotions beneath them. Frustration, fear, insecurity, or misunderstanding. Silence gives these emotions room to surface, creating the possibility for resolution rather than retaliation. Marcus Aurelius's advice to avoid becoming like your adversary is key here. When you respond to anger with anger or react impulsively, you mirror the behavior you're trying to oppose. But when you meet conflict with silence and composure, you demonstrate strength, self-control, and a commitment to resolution. Silence in conflict isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It shows that you value the relationship or the outcome more than the fleeting satisfaction of being right. So the next time you face a heated moment, let silence be your guide. It might just turn the tide in your favor. Lesson 12. Silence as a path to wisdom. Learning through observation. In a world where everyone seems eager to speak, Marcus Aurelius offers a quieter path. It is the nature of the wise to prefer to listen rather than to speak. Silence is more than the absence of sound. It's a tool for growth, a doorway to understanding, and a cornerstone of wisdom. By choosing to observe rather than dominate conversations, we open ourselves to lessons that we might otherwise miss. Silence, in this sense, is not passive, it's profoundly active. The wisest people are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who listen carefully, absorb information, and reflect before contributing. Silence gives you the space to notice details, patterns, and nuances that loud voices often overlook. It allows you to observe the emotions behind someone's words, the dynamics of a group, or the deeper truths hidden in plain sight. Marcus Aurelius understood that true knowledge comes not from asserting your opinions, but from being present and attentive. One of the greatest benefits of silence is that it creates a space for curiosity. When you stop talking, you stop assuming you already know the answers, and you start asking better questions. Instead of thinking about what you want to say next, you focus on what you can learn. This shift in mindset is transformative. It not only deepens your understanding, but also makes others feel heard and valued, building stronger relationships. Marcus Aurelius believed that wisdom wasn't about showing off what you know, but about continually seeking to understand more. As he wrote, "Be content with not knowing all the answers. Learn to live with the questions." So, as you navigate the noise of life, remember the power of silence. Not as an escape, but as a deliberate choice to listen, observe, and grow. In the quiet, you'll find the wisdom that speaking too soon often drowns out. So, here we are at the end of our journey through the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Who knew silence, something so simple and often overlooked, could hold such immense power? It's not just the absence of words, it's the presence of control, clarity, and purpose. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about reading philosophy or nodding along, it's about doing. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to impress anyone. He wrote them as a guide for himself, a way to reflect, improve, and keep his mind stronger than his circumstances. And now, it's your turn to take what you've learned and make it real. Now, let's turn the spotlight on you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Mind over body. When has silence saved me? Was there a moment when holding back felt more powerful than speaking out? Or maybe you're ready to try this and want to commit to one of the lessons we discussed. Let's spark a conversation that goes beyond words and dives deep into what truly matters. And if this resonated with you, if it challenged you, inspired you, or even surprised you, then you know what to do. Hit that like button to show some love. And if you're not already part of this amazing community, click subscribe right now. Because we're not just scratching the surface here, we're digging into the kind of wisdom that can transform your life. So, are you ready to take this journey further? Share your story, Engage with others in the comments, and let's build a space where silence isn't just golden, it's transformative. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here, it's just beginning, and you're a vital part of it. Let's make silence louder than the noise. You in?